Hi, so Simon asked me to make a cake for his class tomorrow. It's his last class with them. And since I told you about this cake today, the Depression era chocolate cake that you can find on my Pinterest, I thought, let me just make it for you real quick in a video so that if you have any questions, I hope I can answer them here. So I didn't get anything ready. This isn't a cooking show. All I have is the dish for it. So I gotta get all my ingredients out. It is now, what time is it? 9:20. Let's see how fast I can get this. It says prep time 25 minutes. That is not true. I have never taken that long. So, measuring cups, measuring spoons. I think that's what I need. I like to just get everything out because this is when I find out that I don't have something. I bought cocoa today. Baking soda. Baking powder, baking soda. And then I also need vanilla. I need ginger. This just adds to the flavor. You don't have to use it, but I always put some in. I need 2 cups of boiling water because I make coffee to put in it. You can either use instant coffee in boiling water, or if you get, sometimes I get really fancy and use my little Italian coffee pot and make some of this and make it up to 2 cups. You can make whatever coffee you want. But if you don't have coffee, you can also just use hot water. It doesn't even have to be hot. This recipe is one of those where you do not have to be precious with it. It is a Depression era chocolate cake. It's all about making do with what you got. Feel free to substitute. The only thing is that the baking soda reacts with the vinegar, and that's what makes it rise. Flour, I think that's 3 cups. Sugar, salt, cocoa powder, baking soda, ginger. It says in the recipe coconut oil. I never use coconut oil unless, because I usually make this when I want to make a cheap cake, and coconut oil costs an arm and a leg here. And plus, here, it's hard, so you would have to then melt it. We're going to use sunflower oil today. Use whatever oil's around. I've done it with olive oil even, and it's been fine. So, coffee is on its way. And so we start with 3 cups of flour. Again, like I don't shake it down. Usually I pour it in, keep it kind of flat. That's 1. Nice and fluffy cups. 2 fluffy but level. And 3. And 1 3/4 cups of sugar. Now this recipe says also that you should put it in, you can make it in the pan. I have never actually done that. That's not true. I did it once, but I felt like it was more work to try and get it all stirred in. So I don't really do that anymore. So 1 3/4 cups of sugar. It says cane sugar here. Now this is actually cane sugar. It's that light brown cane sugar. Feel free to use white sugar, whatever sugar you have. Brown sugar will make a heavier cake, but it's all good. That water is just boiled, so earlier some water in it. So 2 teaspoons of coffee. I just use instant. Sometimes if I have it, like I said, you don't have to use coffee. It makes the chocolate flavor. How much coffee is it? 2 cups, right? 2 cups. It makes the chocolate flavor nicer. Coffee really brings out the flavors of chocolate. So I love putting coffee in my chocolate cakes. But it's all up to you. Like I said, this cake needs to be easy. So I like to have this sitting. That's why I'm just interrupting my dry ingredients. I also like to put my salt in with the coffee. That is because we use this coarse, I don't know if you can see that, it's coarse grained sea salt. So if I put it in with the coffee, I know it's going to dissolve. So that's 1 1/2 teaspoons. And I have it in the hot coffee, and it'll dissolve and it'll go through everything more evenly. So I always put the salt in with the coffee. Then 7 tablespoons of cocoa powder. 7 tablespoons must be equivalent to something else. Easier. Is it a quarter cup? No, it's more than a quarter cup. 3, 4. I lost count. 5, 6, 7. Cocoa powder. 2 teaspoons of baking soda. Make sure you're not using baking powder. This is really important in here. It's baking soda because the acid in the vinegar will react with this. Like most recipes, you wouldn't put 2 whole teaspoons of baking soda in a cake. Like that's a lot. And it would taste kind of metallic. But we're going to throw in some vinegar, straight up vinegar in here. And that is going to react with the baking soda. So you have to get those spot on. This is a ½ teaspoon of ginger. This is, again, it's optional, but it really brings out the flavor. So those are the dry ingredients. And I'll just mix those up so that it's nicely evenly distributed. Before I add the wet ingredients, I'm going to make sure that my pan is ready, because this cake, you want to have it straight in the oven. So I actually turned it on the oven before I put Marcus to bed, so it'll be nice and hot, because you want it nice and hot. I think it's 350 it cooks at. I don't know, 375. Oh, 375, is that what I just turn on my oven. I don't even look anymore. And my oven is in Celsius and it's convection, so it never really matches up. So I kind of guess. But anyway, I have it on 170, I think. Yeah, 170 Celsius on convection. So I don't know. We'll see. It's usually fine for this cake. So I put oil on the... I have this glass baking dish from IKEA. I use it for everything. This is my lasagnas. This is my sheet cake. This is everything. So just put some oil and flour. Again, you do not have to be precious with this recipe. And if you forget to, if you want to use a non-stick spray, go ahead. If you forget to do it, go ahead and serve it straight out of the dish. That's fine. Whatever. You can also make this as a 2-layer cake. It works really well. It holds up. So it's also nice. So now, the wet ingredients. I've got my coffee here. Now, the recipe says to mix these things separate and make, look, I throw them all together and then put them all together. Don't be precious. So, 3/4 cups of oil. Which sounds like a lot, but remember, we don't have eggs, we don't have butter, we don't have milk, and this cake is really nice and rich, and guess where it comes from? We got some oil up in there. That's 1/3. That's 1/2 and 1/4. So, drop that in. Remember, my salt is already in here. 2 teaspoons of vanilla. I just put 1, squirts. And then the 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. So you can use apple cider vinegar, but you know what? Use what you got. If you don't have apple cider, go ahead and use white vinegar. It works beautifully. I've done it many times. And you have to use the whole 2 tablespoons. I've also used, once I didn't have coffee, so I used kombucha, which is quite acidic. And that was good. But you have to make sure you have something quite acidic. And if you're not using coffee, I would actually probably up that by a little bit with the apple cider vinegar, because you want to get some more of that flavor in. And the coffee also has some acidity. Let me make sure I have everything. Flour, sugar, salt, cocoa powder, baking soda, ginger, oil, vanilla, coffee, vinegar. Perfect. So obviously oil and water don't mix. I like to have a spatula handy. So just made a cake yesterday. So the spatula don't want in the dishwasher. I need a curvy one. As you can see, this has had a little issue. It doesn't like the dishwasher, but I don't care. All right, so now make sure your pan is ready. Make sure your oven is ready before you add these together. By the way, if you want to give a nice gift, mix some of this up, put it in a pretty jar. It looks nice in one of these jars. On the side, you write the instructions for what you put in here, which is the, obviously, if you mix this up as a gift, you would want to put the salt in here. But you tell them to make 2 cups of coffee, 3/4 cups of oil, and 2 tablespoons of vinegar, and add it to their dry ingredients. So you're basically giving someone a cake. So I have a friend, I gave it to her for her birthday. And I wrote the instructions on the outside. And yeah, and so she just made it up one day. She said she had guests, and she was like, oh, we should make a cake. And she disappeared into the kitchen, and 10 minutes later she came back out, and they were like, what, you changed your mind? She said, no, it's in the oven. So I like to start this off with the whisk, but it doesn't last very long. So then I just take my spatula. You don't want to mix too much, because then it'll get tough, as all cakes do if you overmix the flour with the liquid. So you definitely need to make sure everything is mixed together, and then stop. Now, Mommy, I told you about chocolate chips. Remember that I just put boiling hot coffee in here. If you put chocolate chips in now, it'll melt. So if you're doing it with chocolate chips, I suggest you let the coffee cool. I always like to taste it to make sure I put everything in. You should taste the kind of acidity of the vinegar, but you should also taste the kind of tinny flavor of the baking soda, because you don't want to have forgotten that. So yeah, I don't know if you can see this. Pouring it into the bowl, oh sorry, from the bowl into the dish, and there it goes in the oven. It is now 9:32, it's 12 minutes and not 25. I'm gonna set this timer for, with this one pan, I usually do it for about 45 minutes and then check. It normally needs a few more minutes at that point, but you know, because I don't really look at what temperature the oven is on, you never know. So that 25 minutes that they told me it takes, that includes me cleaning up and everything and chatting with you. You can stop now if you want, or you can watch me clean up my kitchen. But yeah, that's the cake. I'll take another video when I take it out, and you'll be able to see what it looks like. And then I'll make a quick buttercream frosting. So I mix half a cup of butter with just a few tablespoons, maybe a 1/4 cup of cocoa. I do this in the mixer, softened butter. And then I add about, what is that, half a kilo of icing sugar. I don't know if you have icing sugar. I don't know how you get it, but we get it like this. It's half a kilo, which is what, a pound? Just over a pound of icing sugar. And mix that all together, and I add a little bit of milk or cream or whatever I have handy. If you don't have that, you can use water, until it makes a really nice frosting. And that's my buttercream. You want to frost the cake when it's cool. And if it's like for tomorrow, he wants to just take it to work. So what I'll do is frost it in the morning. I'll take it out of the oven tonight, leave it out, frost it in the morning, and let it rip. They'll serve it straight out of the pan. But if you want to loosen it up, if you want to take it out of the pan afterwards, then you need to take it out of the oven, let it sit on a rack, like in the pan on a rack. Oh, I didn't even use it, for 10-15 minutes, and that's when it's a good time to take it out. If you wait too long, it's harder to get out. If you do it too quickly, it breaks. So that is the situation. You've never seen me empty my dishwasher, I guess. So here we go. Get to see my kitchen. And there's way too many plastic containers, as always. Do a little Tetris situation here to make it all fit. I miss is Leo. This is his job, but he's gone for the weekend, for the week with his class at camp. So, yeah, so I have him here to pack away dishes. Marcus usually does the forks and knives, and Leo does all the other dishes. It's so funny because when my friends come over, the parents are always shocked that my kids do dishes. I mean, when I say do dishes, we're talking about a dishwasher, not actually doing dishes. I'm like, why are you surprised when an 11-year-old and 7-year-old are doing dishes? Anyway, what really surprises them is that their own children do dishes and they put away stuff and clean up after them too, because that's what's exciting. I can't believe it. Anyway, it's all about expectations. Kids will live up or down to the expectations we have of them, I guess. So, yeah. So, I am going to say goodbye now and check for when the cake comes out of the oven. Bye.